Hey there, I'm Tori Beach, and I'm a solo wedding videographer. Gear is obviously essential to being a videographer, so I wanted to go ahead and share with you what I have in my camera bag and why I chose the specific types of gear that I have. It's really important to me as a solo videographer that all of my gear fit in one bag. It's just easier to be able to carry everything if it only fits in one bag. And that's super nice for me because, again, with only being one person, I only have one set of hands. So it keeps me from having to make multiple trips to go grab all of my gear. I feel like when you have multiple bags, there's definitely more of a chance for you to misplace something or for someone to grab something. But with one bag, I always have it near me, next to me, or on me. So I'm always aware of where it is. And that definitely helps give me a peace of mind when I am on a shoot. Before I get into the gear that I have, I just want to make a statement that if I did not have to use camera gear or any sort of equipment to do my job, I wouldn't. I don't really care for gear. It is not something that I get excited about. I'm not into gear. I use it because it helps me in my field, obviously. But other than that, I just don't have a whole lot of interest in gear. With that being said, I do love the gear that I have. And over the years, I have shot on a lot of different types of cameras, and I have come down to the fact that I like Sony. And the reason that I like Sony is because it has a really great high ISO. And for me, low light capabilities are really important, especially since a lot of receptions are candle lit or low light. And I still want to see people's faces without having a lot of grain in my footage. So having low light capabilities was a must, which is why I have a Sony a7S. Now, this is my main camera, and I use this for almost everything that you see. And the lens that I use on it is a 50 millimeter. Now, this is a Canon lens and it has an adapter on it. This lens is actually an old film lens. The majority of the stuff that I shoot during wedding day is on the 50 millimeter lens. The other lens that I use is a Sony 70-300 zoom lens. And this lens I use mainly for the ceremony as my close-up shot for the bride and the groom and the officiant up at the front. I have a second camera, which is a Sony a7, and this is my bailout shot camera, my oops, something happened to my main camera. It does very many things that are similar to the a7S, but obviously it's not as powerful as the a7S. However, lenses are interchangeable, so if something were to happen with the a7S, I would be able to shoot the full rest of the wedding on my a7 and not have a problem. So the a7, I have it fitted with a Sony 35 millimeter lens. I really like it. It's a great lens. I also have some smaller cameras, and those I use for gimbal shots or moving shots. I love my Sony RX0. It's a great little camera. It has the same look as my other two cameras. It's got so many great capabilities with its 1-inch sensor, and I can use it as my gimbal shot. Now, the gimbal that I'm using is perfect in size because it's small and it's compact and it fits perfectly in my large gear bag. It's a typical 3-axis gimbal. It does have a counterweight, and so I've balanced it perfectly for the RX0. However, I'm not really planning on putting another camera onto this gimbal, so I can leave it set the way that it is, and I know that it's ready to go as soon as I need it. I also have a gimbal for my GoPro, and that gimbal is a Fiu 3-axis gimbal. It's a very inexpensive little handheld gimbal. The reason that I like that gimbal is because it's extremely compact, it's very, very light, and the GoPro Hero 4 is what I'm using for all of those shots. The GoPro is used primarily for outdoor shots, and the reason I use it for that is because the RX0 is limited in a couple of ways, and one of those ways is the fact that it has a fixed aperture, and it's a little too bright sometimes for outdoor shots. So I do have an ND filter for it, but it's not always dark enough, so my footage ends up being blown out. I have just come to realize that GoPro really is the master of outdoor shots. And so color-wise, the quality, all of that, I just love what GoPro can produce. So I do usually end up using my gimbal and GoPro camera for most outdoor shots. Now, as far as microphones are concerned, right now I am using an on-camera microphone. It's just a Rode mic, and I do have the one that has the battery pack in it, and that's just to doubly make sure that it doesn't go out of power. Also, with Sony cameras, the power capability coming from the camera is iffy, so I wanted to make sure that I had good, clean audio coming from that microphone at all times, and not just when the camera decided to give it power. The other microphone that I use is a little Tascam mic, and Tascam's just nice. It's so small. It records to itself. For the reception, I have a Zoom H4n recorder and all the different plugins possible for soundboards or for speakers to be able to record all the audio at the reception. So there you go. That is the gear that I use to shoot my wedding days. And again, it's very easily compact. It stays in one bag, and I love it that way. What comments do you have for me? Do you have any suggestions for a future video? I would love to hear from you, so please feel free to leave all comments and suggestions in the comments box below. Thanks so much.